Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Darrell Owens back for another edition of One on One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, we have a Thanksgiving edition of One on One about to go down. We've got 3 games coming up here within the next hour and some change. We got the Packers heading to Detroit to take on the Lions. The Lions and the Cowboys are locked into these Thanksgiving traditions, but it'll be Lions and Packers. Last time these two teams faced off on Thanksgiving, the Packers won in a shocking way a couple years ago. Then you have the Cowboys taking on the Chiefs. That one to happen at 4:30. That should be a doozy. The Chiefs are trying to find their way back into playoff contention. In a good spot. The Cowboys are, same dream. They're both trying to figure out what their playoff future could possibly be if they can get back in there. And then last but not least, a AFC North battle between the Cincinnati Bengals with the returning Joe Burrow and, of course, Lamar Jackson and the crew. It's going to be a very interesting, Thanksgiving. Hope you all enjoy. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. But we got to get things started right with episode 191 of 101, and it begins now. One, 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 one. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Thanksgiving edition of One on One, and we are excited. We got a lot to go through today because, we got 3 games today. And then, of course, we have the rest of the week to get into. All 32 teams play this week. There is no bye week during the Thanksgiving week because the way they spread it out. We also have a Black Friday game, which has become a tradition. That'll be Bears and Eagles tomorrow. So we got a lot going on here in the NFL the next couple of days, but it's going to be an NFL filled weekend. The only day we don't get no NFL action is on Saturday, but then you have some great college football action. Your boy is going to be heading up to UVA to watch the Hokies and the Cavaliers go at it. Virginia has a chance to lock into the ACC championship for the first time since 2019. So, I'm excited to see if the Cavaliers can do that. But more important than the ACC championship is getting a win against those Hokies, because that's a tough task. Even with the Hokies struggling, that is still a tough task. You got to get that monkey off your back. So we'll see how that all kind of goes down. But we've got a ton to get into. We got to give you the bottom, the outside looking in. Of course, the top 10, the finale. We got to give you all that. Who's the players of the week, the top 5 in the MVP race. Got a new number 1 there. Probably should have been number 1 a couple of weeks, but your boy, it is what it is. We're going to tell you where we stand right now as the playoffs start, all that fun stuff. But we're going to get into all that, and we want you guys to enjoy it. And I ain't going to be on crazy long because we got to get y'all to watch some football. We got to get ready for some football action. All that fun stuff has got to go down. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the party started with the bottom. All right, so we start off at the bottom. The bottom team in the NFL for quite a few weeks now, the Tennessee Titans. They just don't have it. That's the nicest way to put it. They just don't have it. They don't have enough pieces to the puzzle to be who they need themselves to be, if that makes any sense, right? They just don't have it. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now, also, with that being said, we've got to figure out, what's going to be the next step for this team when the time does come. We just don't know what that's going to be. But, They've got pieces and, a few pieces here and there. Two core pieces right now, Cam Ward and then Jeffrey Simmons. So those are the two core pieces. But after that, it's a free-for-all. Calvin Ridley's injured, whole 9 yards. So we'll see what is in store for the Tennessee Titans, but they're at 32. At 31, the New York Football Giants. Man, all I can say about the Giants, this team deserves to be better than what their record says. I gotta say that because it's the truth. The team deserves to be better than what their record says. It is absolutely unfortunate that their record is the way it is. That is the nicest way that I can put that. I just do not understand, all these fourth quarter collapses. I think it's 5 altogether. So if they win those games, they're 7-5. It's just at the minimum, they're 7-5, and they have shown at times that they could be a really good football team, but the collapses have just been too much. In this game, man, Jameis Winston showed off. I mean, just if you're not a fan of football if you don't enjoy what Jameis Winston has done these last 2 weeks and just the energy he's brought to the team, even in the losses. 2 very competitive games against 2 potential playoff teams in the Packers and the Lions. So shout out to Jameis Winston and the Giants. They could have easily rolled over after Scatterboo got hurt, after Neighbors got hurt. Dart's been hurt the last couple. They could have easily rolled over, but Wendell Robinson steps up. Ty Tracy comes back in the fold. The defense is doing some solid things. It's unfortunate. So shout out to the Giants, man. They deserve more. I should say, that and the fans, they definitely deserve more. At 30, a team that doesn't deserve more, and I probably should have put them lower, but you know how I do things in this style of power ranking. The Raiders are at number 30. And they, to be honest with you, should probably be, in all actuality, they're more likely, they're probably in the right spot. The Saints and them are kind of back and forth with that. It could be worse. But the Raiders are just not a good football team. And they helped Shedeur Sanders end a streak that has been almost 30 years long where the rookie quarterback actually winning a game for their team. So, for the Cleveland Browns haven't had a rookie quarterback or somebody winning their first start as a Brown since 1993. It's a stupid number, but I was like 8. So it's been a long time. With that being said, the Raiders franchise is a franchise that has got a lot of questions to answer in the offseason. Is Max Crosby going to want to stay there? He's been as tough as they come when it comes to a Raider, but he doesn't deserve what he's getting. That's the nicest way to put that. He doesn't deserve what he's getting. Raiders at 30. At 29, the New Orleans Saints. Now, I picked the Saints to win. I can't believe I did this. I picked the Saints to win against the Falcons. I had tried to have a little faith in them because of the Falcons and the way they've been playing, but the Falcons proved me wrong, and they got a 24-10 victory over the Saints. The Saints are another team that just, Tyler Shuck hasn't played miserable, but he hasn't played great, and so they've got to kind of find a way to, what's the next step for them? Alvin Kamara has been banged up. What's the next step for the Saints? And I don't know what that is. They're going to have a solid draft pick. Do you go quarterback with this draft? There's a lot of people that have questions about this draft in the QB position. I don't know. Do you go try to find somebody in free agency? I don't know. We'll see. Saints at 29. At 28, the New York Football Jets. They brought in Tyrod Taylor this past week to try to be the man and make some things happen. They hung in with the Ravens for a while. But then eventually the Ravens, went through, got their 5th straight win, and they're right back on track on making the playoffs. They're right now currently atop the AFC North, technically where a lot of people feel like they should have been, including myself. I had them going to the Super Bowl this year, so along with the Rams. So just throwing that out there, Ravens, Super Bowl, only because I want to be right. But I said it at the beginning of the season. But yeah, this is just a tough go for the Jets. They're another team that's going to have a lot of questions to answer. Where does it go from here? The draft is going to be interesting. They got a lot of picks, so we shall see. At 27, the Browns. Shedeur Sanders. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders, man. He deserves credit. Unlike his coach, Kevin Stefanski, like real credit, not that little drive-by credit that he gave him. Look, the team went in there. Was he amazing, like on top of the game? Did he throw for 4,000 yards or whatever? No, he didn't do all that. But what he did do, which I think a lot of people have looked past, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that just don't like Shedeur Sanders because of who his daddy is, and he's arrogant instead of just him being confident. If you're a quarterback, you want your quarterback to be confident. If this was Tom Brady or somebody, nobody would be saying anything, but I'm going to leave that alone. With Shador, just, what I think he gave this Browns team was one, confidence, and you can see the energy was different. They were legitly, a full week of him being under center during the regular season with the first team seemed to have changed some things. So shout out to the Browns. Well, shout out to Shador and shout out to Myles Garrett and those guys, the players. Shout out to the players, I'll say that, and the GM, Andrew Berry, for all the hard work that they try to do to try to figure this thing out. But they're 3-8 now. And Shador is going to start again this week against the 49ers. So another tough test for the young man, but we'll see if he can make it through. At 26, the Washington Commanders, they were on a bye. They got the Broncos this week to say, the top, one of the top teams in the AFC. They were number one on our power rankings last week. They won't be this week, but they were number one last week and in the week before then. So Bo Nix comes into town on Sunday night, and it'll be my first time back behind the lens in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited for that Sunday night contest. 25, the Arizona Cardinals. Man, the Cardinals, they're another team that have played hard at times, and you're just like, man, I think they're going to find a way to pull it off. They lose a tough one to Jacksonville 27-24. Jacoby Brissett and that crew just fought hard. The defense had 3 or 4 interceptions on Trevor Lawrence. Somehow they still lost this game, but they played hard, and they just couldn't pull it off. They're another team that's got pieces, and they're still trying to figure everything out. At 24, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals on a bye, so I take that back. The Bengals were on the bye last week. I'm sorry. That's the wrong orange team. That was Denver. The Bengals took on the Patriots, losing 26-20. Another game where the Bengals were in it, and, they had to deal with some injuries. I believe not Joe Burrow. Well, he was out, but what's my man's name? Higgins got nicked up, and some other players got nicked up. But the Patriots held on to get their, I believe, 9th straight win, which is impressive. They're 10-2. The New England Patriots 10-2, and they've been downright impressive. Next, we've got 23, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons won their game. It wasn't impressive, but they won the game, and that's all I had to say about the Atlanta Falcons. 22, the Minnesota Vikings losing to the Packers. That always will put a smile on this Packer enthusiast face. I hate this, though, for Aaron Jones. I hate this for Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They've got some really good pieces on this team. That defense is not bad. The problem is the offense is. That's the problem. The offense is just not good. So, sorry. Not sorry. Minnesota's at 22. 21, the Dolphins, they were on a bye last week. They're looking to try to sneak their way in the playoffs, see if they can try to win out here and see what they can make happen. But they're playing better football. All right, the bottom. Titans, Giants, Raiders, Saints, Jets, Browns, Commanders, Cardinals, Bengals, Falcons, Vikings, and last but not least, the number 21 team in our power rankings and top of the bottom. That sounds crazy. The Miami Dolphins. Yeah, I am very, look at that. Oh, that's pleasantly surprised. Let the little Thanksgiving theme on here. But yeah, the bottom has been very interesting. There's some teams in there that I still think could make some things happen, but we shall see if they can figure some things out here soon. Now, let's go ahead and swing over to the outside looking in. Outside looking in. At number 20, we've got the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, Monday night against the 49ers, didn't do too hot. Just when you think, Bryce Young is turning the corner, have a little bit of a second back game like this. Didn't like that. But the 49ers moved to 8-4, and the Panthers are 6-6. And the Panthers are still in playoff contention. Heck, they can win that division. So it could be a dogfight between the Panthers and the Bucs that head down the stretch. At 19, the Cowboys, a nice win for Dallas over the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. There's a strong chance that Dallas probably or should have been undefeated against the Eagles this year. They probably should have won the first game, but all of the rain delay and all that stuff kind of looked like it threw him off, and the Eagles were able to pull off the win. It was a nice win for Dallas, and they were down 21-0 and come back to win 24-21. So shout out to the Dallas Cowboys for a nice win. At 18, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, boy, oh boy. Pittsburgh was 4-1. 4-1. And they have went 2-4 in the last 6 weeks. No Aaron Rodgers last week. They lose to the Bears. And what this has done they have lost their spot as the top dog in AFC North. They had a comfortable lead. They were up like 3 games, and they just faded slow. I'll be honest with you. I got a bad feeling that if they don't figure it out and make the playoffs and win a playoff game, Tomlin gone, y'all. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't want to see it happen, but I think he's gone. It might be not they fire him, but a mutually agreement type dream in Pittsburgh. They got to figure some things out. They're always going to be relevant, but this has got to be rough for Pittsburgh fans. At 17, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay's struggling, and it's injuries. Injuries have beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tremendously. No Mike Evans, Chris Godwin's just coming back. Then Baker goes down. It's just been rough. There's a chance Baker may not play this week. That may be the Teddy Bridgewater show. But Teddy Bridgewater ain't no slouch, so I'm not going to act like he can't go out there and do some good things. But we shall see. Bucs in trouble. Bucs are in trouble. Carolina's hawking. At 16, another team that was like 1-5, 2 and something, they were struggling, and they have just went on a little streak themselves. That's the Houston Texans, best defense in the NFL, giving people problems, getting a nice win against Buffalo on Thursday night last week, messing up my streak. I won 5 straight Thursday night games until the suckers decided to come in there and make me look bad. So, but shout out to D'Amico Ryans and the squad down in Houston. At 15, the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, Kansas City just lingering around. If y'all slip around, let the guys make the playoffs, they're going back to Super Bowl. Don't let it happen, AFC. Don't let it happen. That's all I'm going to say. At 14, talked about Baltimore getting their win over the Jets. They're starting to look like the team that we, thought they could be as a season. There's still some hit or miss moments there, but they still could be a formidable team, especially if Kansas City don't get into the playoffs. At 13, the San Diego Chargers, a.k.a. the L.A. Chargers. The Chargers, didn't have to play this week, so that's one positive. We didn't have to worry about the Chargers going in there and messing things up this week, so shout out to them. At 12, we've got the Buffalo Bills, who did mess things up this week. They fall to 7-4, and a team that looks like there could be a lot of interesting, things going on here in the next couple of weeks where they try to figure some things out. They got some things they really got to figure out because, I got a friend of mine, my man Andre Hunter, says, hey, look, don't be surprised if McDermott gone at the end of the season. I'll be honest with you, you can't be this good this long and just keep falling short, especially if Kansas City don't make the playoffs. You got no excuse. At 11, the Detroit Lions, another team that's struggling. And there's some games they're like, man, Lions look good. Then there's some games you're like, man, what is this Lions team doing? Now, they did win against the Giants in a comeback, but they struggled. Jahmyr Gibbs is a monster. Those are all the things we saw from that game. But the Lions are still in the mix. There's 3 teams currently in the NFC North that are in the playoffs as we speak. So there it is. Outside looking in. Panthers, Cowboys, Steelers, Bucks, Texans, Chiefs, Ravens, Chargers, Bills, and the Detroit Lions round out the outside looking in. All right, so outside looking in, that's where we stand. Things looking, decent per se. With that being said, let's go ahead and knock on the door of the top 10. Let's get it. All right, top 10. At number 10. I'm sorry, yo, my nose running. I don't know what's going on. That's at number 10, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sneaking a win against the Cardinals. They're 7-4. Look, they got 7 wins. I think the last time they got to something like this, they fell apart. So if they can finish through, they right now are holding on tight to a playoff spot. I think they're the 6th seed, I believe, right now, if I'm not mistaken. So they're hanging on tight to a playoff spot. And if the Colts are not careful, Jacksonville could catch up with them. But that's something that we're not there yet, but we're close. And they play each other soon. So and so that's why I say like it's very critical that they got to be on top of it. They play each other real soon. I think they play each other next week if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. So Jacksonville at 10. At number 9, the San Francisco 49ers, who are 8-4, not 7-4. I knew I was going to have a mistake on this graphics this week. I knew it was going to be one. I thought I was doing all right. Dad and I had that random Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the last graphic, but besides the point. We have the 8-4 49ers. They're doing really good things right now. They just got Purdy back. They're still going to be a problem once playoff time come around. It's just something you have to be careful about, something you got to watch out about. San Francisco is going to be a problem. They're getting healthy. And then Brandon Ayuk is still waiting in the wings. So we shall see. At 8, the Green Bay Packers. It wasn't pretty, but it was a solid win against the Vikings. So nice, to move to 2-0 in the division. Last year they went 1-5 in the division, so you're already doing better than last year. They got another tough one coming up this week. Today against the Lions in just about an hour or so when they take on the Lions. So if they can win that puts them in a really good spot. They would have swept the Lions for the first time in a couple years. And then on top of that, they got the Bears next week, which makes things really critical in the NFC North because it's going to be a big matchup now. Bears and Packers haven't meant this much in a little bit. So it could be a really interesting game next week. At 7, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles losing to the Cowboys. We know they're still a good team, but their offense has had some struggles. So that's something they got to figure out here before the playoffs hit. At 6, the Indianapolis Colts. Tough loss to the Chiefs, but the Colts are still having a pretty solid year. And, we'll see if they can bounce back this week. This Colts team, they got the Texans. It's going to be another tough matchup. The Texans defense is best in the league, so the Colts are going to have their hands full with Houston. At 5, a sneaky good team, man. They had a tough week a couple of weeks ago against the Rams, but nice win for them against the Titans. They're 8-3. That's the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, Sam Darnold and the crew, Jackson Smith and the Jigba, them boys are cooking. They cooking. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Now, heading to number 4. This one hurts my feelings. But it's Chicago Bears. As a Packer enthusiast, this hurts my feelings. But, man, you got to give Caleb Williams and that crew and Ben Johnson credit. They're 8-3. They're winning the games they need to win. And, they're continuing to play well. They got a big one tomorrow. If they can beat the Eagles tomorrow, then I say to myself, okay, this Bears team is legitly in, they real. So that's something that we can find out here soon. At number 3, the Denver Broncos. They were on a bye last week. Kind of unfair to lose the number 1 spot, but hey, you snooze, you lose. Unfortunately, in this situation, they're at number 3. At number 2, excuse me, y'all. At number 2, the LA Rams. There's a big part of me that want to put them at number 1, but the Patriots streak, it's hard for me to put them over for that reason, obviously, and you know how I do the power rankings. But the Rams have been cooking. Matt Stafford, 30 touchdowns, only 2 picks, cooking. Like MVP numbers all over today, foreshadowing. I mean, the Rams look good. There's a reason why I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, and you guys are finding out now. Woo, gotta love it. At number 1, for the first time ever on our power rankings, the New England Patriots. Shout out to the New England Patriots for becoming their first number 1 or getting their first number 1 grab here in our power rankings. Shout out to them. So here we go. Top 10, Jaguars, 49ers, Packers, Eagles, Colts, Seahawks, Bears, Broncos, Rams, and number 1 for the first time ever, the New England Patriots. All right, so there we go. As we head to our finale here, we're going to go ahead and finish things up here on the finale. That was our power rankings, locked and loaded. Not the Bengals, the Patriots getting their first ever spot at number 1. So shout out to them. Congratulations to them. Now, let's see who was player of the week. Let's see how your boy did in his record. All that fun stuff. We're going to find that out right now here on the finale. All right. So, first of all, our Kings of the Gridiron for week number 12, players of the week. Offensive side of the ball, Jahmyr Gibbs. Man. 15 carries, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 yards. 14.6 yards per carry, and a 34-27 win over the New York Giants in overtime. It was an impressive play by Gibbs. Breaks loose on a big run to give the Lions the lead. The defense holds, and the Lions, ladies and gentlemen, are your, you know, not 7 time when it's wrong. Jameer Gibbs is your offensive king of the gridiron for week number 12. On the defensive side, back-to-back weeks. There's other people I could have went with, but this man's on a tear. Myles Garrett, and this time for the first time this year, and he's now won this award 3 times this year, which I think is a record. I don't think nobody's ever won it 3 times in a year. Myles Garrett, 5 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles in a 24-10 victory over Vegas. He now has 18 sacks, I believe, and he is squarely. He's only 5 sacks away from getting the all-time record. At this pace, with 6 games to go, he's probably going to reach 30. Right? It's insane. He's been all over the place. Shout out to Myles Garrett, man. He is a monster. So there it is. Your Kings of the Gridiron, Jameer Gibbs for the offensive side of the ball in the Detroit Lions, and for the defensive side of the ball, Myles Garrett with the Cleveland Browns. Now we swing over to our MVP. Number 1, Matt Stafford. Man, Stafford is cooking. He is, he's got 2,800 yards this year, 30 touchdowns, first in the league in that. Only 2 picks. He's 5th in the QBR, 5th in yards. I slept on this man, for most of the season, even though I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl. He is having his best year yet, and it's impressive. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams. This team's good. They, in my eyes, are Super Bowl bound. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. Number 2, Drake May, another guy who is learning, growing, and look, all I can say about Drake May is that he continues to lead this team beautifully. 9 straight wins, and he has a strong case for MVP. At number 3, Myles Garrett. I just told you, 18 sacks. He's looking to break the record. He's definitely the defensive player of the year. Even with the Browns being as bad as they are offensively and all that other stuff going on in their record, he's the defensive MVP, and I don't think it's close. At number 4, Jonathan Taylor, still in the mix, leading and rushing. He's been really good so far this year. And he's got almost 1,200 yards with 6 games to go. So he needs about 800 yards in order to get to the 2,000-yard mark. We'll see. And then last but not least, Jackson Smith-Njigba leads the league with 1,300 yards receiving. He only needs 700 yards to hit 2,000. It has never been done. No receiver has ever had 2,000 yards receiving. At least this is what I heard on ESPN the other day. So with that being said, if that is the case, man, how amazing is that? Shout out to Jackson Smith-Njigba. So there it is. Stafford, May, Garrett, Taylor, Smith-Njigba, top 5 MVP candidates heading into week 13. Now, we swing over to our playoff race. If the playoffs started today, number 1 seed in the AFC, and this is new, the New England Patriots would be the number 1 seed if the playoffs started today. At number 2, the Denver Broncos. They would take on the 7th seed Buffalo Bills. The 3 seed Indianapolis Colts would take on division rival the Jacksonville Jaguars as a 6th seed. The number 4 seed back in the playoff hunt for the first time in weeks. The Baltimore Ravens, they have the 4th seed. They would take on the 5th seed San Diego, a.k.a. LA Chargers, which would be a rematch from last year's wild card game, I believe. I think it was a wild card game. Yeah, wild card game last year. I could be wrong on that. I might have to go back and check that, but they played each other in the playoffs last year, if I'm not mistaken. At number 1, on the NFC side, the Los Angeles Rams, cooking 9-2 on top of the game, looking good. Number 2 seed, Philadelphia Eagles will take on number 7 seed, the San Francisco 49ers, which could be a good matchup. And I could see San Francisco winning that game, especially the way the Eagles have played here the last couple of weeks. Number 3, the Chicago Bears, led by Caleb Williams. Wouldn't that make a nice little inkling to the rivalry between the Bears and the Packers if that goes down? But once again, we shall see. And so we've got the sorry, I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Sorry about that. Y'all had a little bit of technical difficulty. So back to what I was saying. So on the NFC side, Rams 1 seed, 2 seed Eagles taking on 7 seed 49ers, 3 seed Bears taking on 6 seed Packers, and then 4 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are holding on tight because the Panthers have a shot at this. They do take on the 5th seed Seattle Seahawks. So there could be some really good matchups if the playoffs stay the way they are now. Then let's head to your boy's record for the season. Whoa, your boy cooking. Another great week. This is like the fifth straight week that I have not had no more than 4 losses. Your boy is cooking like the Rock. Went 10-4 last week. Now 11-66-1. I'm on pace, y'all. If I can, we'll see. We got 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I got 7 weeks, right? And in those 7 weeks, if I can average 10 wins, that at least get me to 81, right? But in order for me to get to like 200, I got to have a couple like outstanding weeks. Once the draft week, like the bye weeks are over after that, so week 15, I got to like go perfect, and I might have a shot. But 111, 66-1, your boy will take it. Now, for today's game, I got the Packers winning 31-28 over the Lions, even though that could be reversed. The Lions are going to be looking for revenge after the Packers beat them in week 1. The Chiefs winning 27-26 over the Cowboys. This also could be reversed. I can see the Cowboys sneaking this out. Their offense has been playing well. Their defense, with the new pieces kind of figuring things out. It's been nice. And then in the classic AFC North style, I got the Ravens 16-14 over the Bengals, but with a returning Joe Burrow. So I'm 8-4 on Thursday night football or Thursday football this year. So I'm hoping that I can move my record to 11-4, but we shall see. Last but not least, my predictions for the rest of the week, of course, Packers, Chiefs, and Ravens. Then I got the Bears winning the Friday night game against the Eagles. That's right, the Bears winning the Friday night game or Black Friday game against the Eagles. I got the 49ers, the Jaguars, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Falcons, Rams, Cardinals. I was about to say Raiders. Cardinals, Seahawks, Chargers, Bills, Broncos, and last but not least, the number 1 team in our power ranking this week, the New England Patriots. All right, everybody, that's it. Episode 191 is in the book here of 101. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us. Look, it's Thanksgiving. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, spending time with your family, and I just hope that everybody just truly enjoys this day and really embraces time with your family. There's so many people that don't have loved ones that they lost this year that they won't be able to have the Thanksgiving with anymore. So please go out there and enjoy your Thanksgiving, and just thank everybody for tuning in for another edition of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course airing on the Amazing Bowie TV. Everybody have a blessed weekend. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy football for the next 5 days because they got some good stuff going on. A lot of rivalry games going on Saturday in college. We got games all the way up till Monday. Y'all guys enjoy it. Until next time, I'm your man, Darrell Owens. This has been 101 on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.